They should maybe fits me. I would say it is an issue which has some moral and ethical connotation behind it. Is it really ethical and morally upright to give these children contraceptives? But we know, and we have information that some of these children are already exposed to these contraceptives, either through schools, either through peers, either through health facilities. So now the question is, what would be maybe the role of the family in terms of helping these adolescents to have the correct attitude, the correct values? Because once you have all those, you may not need now to go back to the question of giving them contraceptives, because you have already equipped them with the knowledge and the life skills. But where you are unable to do that, I think the issues of morality and ethics, some people may argue that stop pregnancy and give these children the contraceptives. It's actually an issue which is still debatable, whether we need to advocate to give these children or adolescents the contraceptives. But there are the pros and cons for doing it or not doing it.
I wonder what, Stella, your think is on that issue, because we can't bury our heads in the sand and say, children are getting pregnant. It's true. That means they're engaging themselves in sex and unprotected sex, and that's why they're even producing when they're young.
Yeah.
So the issue of morality and ethics on the side, we have a problem. And I remember somebody was introducing something called sexuality education, which was also very controversial in our country, so that people can maybe appropriate age kind of education to young girls and boys, so that they can take right choices and know what they're doing.
Yeah. So, Patrick, the issue is giving age-appropriate information. The information you would give 12 to 15 years is not the same that you would give 16 to 19, for instance, or the information that you would give 10 to 13 should be packaged differently. So
but who is giving that information?
That information should be given in schools. The education sector now comes in. That information can be given by the community, by families. That information should be given by religious leaders, by cultural leaders. So we need to give age-appropriate information. And for the young people, I think that is the most important strategy that we should start with. But the issue of those that are sexually active and have already maybe given birth even, it is important that they access the contraceptives, because the statistics actually show that if they are not given contraceptives when they're already sexually active, they will now have even more kids. They will produce more and more.
Okay, I just want to bring in our people who are following us on Zoom, and I have ready Mr. Charles Mugude. Charles Mugude, you are the district chairperson, I suppose, of Kamuli. Thank you so much for joining us. And we know, for example, in the area of Busoga sub-region, if you compare to other parts of Uganda, there's actually a high teenage pregnancy in that area, more than anywhere else in our country. And one would ask why, and what can you do to stop it? And Mr. Mugude, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much, brother. We thank you for hosting us. And the question you asked me, I first introduced myself, Mugude Charles Maxwell Gombla, chairperson of LC5 Kamuli District. In fact, the problem we're discussing today is cost-cutting. I have had my brothers there debate it and give their opinion, but it's more like mine. You asked me to tell you how the situation stands. In Kamuli and Busoga as a whole, this early marriage, teenage pregnancies, are just such a big problem. I wanted to add my voice on what some brother of mine said. Kamara, you were wondering whether a responsible parent could send a child to go and look for food and look for a bread for the family, and how themselves, the mature people, sit back. I have a problem with the people we lead, that there is that syndrome of laziness. You choose to sit back and then you think somebody else is going to give you, especially for us, the politicians. And so this is rampant, that the children who are back at home, because there is a lockdown, they're not going to school. In our area, they are sent to go cut cane so that they can earn bread for their families. Mr. Kamara, this is true. And for parents, we need to call back the responsible parenthood so that somebody knows it very well. I had my sister Kao there said that even when you're poor, you need to grow up children with values. Yes, but this is now that has been left. There is a permissiveness amongst the parents. They don't care what their children do for as long as they get food. And what is painful is that they send the boys go and cut cane, and then they send their sisters, young sisters, that you go collect as you be binding, this one is cutting. So that is very true. And I think we need to go back to the community sensitization of their role. Yes, we could be ashamed of educating the parents on how to parent, but if they don't know, what do we do? So I think there should be a deliberate effort by our government to see that at least we call back our parents to order, so that they can also in turn call back to order their children. There is one problem. People think that by hiding contraceptives from the children, it helps. It doesn't. Brother Kamara, we must know that the age of 12 to 20 is such an adventurous age, and if you hide contraceptives from them, you are going to cause a lot of curiosity, and because they are so enthusiastic about what the role of those contraceptives is they are going to do it themselves, and sometimes the wrong way. So to me, I think sex and sexuality education to these children is very important, because when you give them that, it's not about just telling them about what contraceptives do, but you're also going to tell them the other bad side of it, especially if you started it at another age.
So Mr. Chairman, if again in your area, and I was privileged to come to your district in Kamuli, and I saw yes, what civil society organizations are doing. For example, there are things they call shelter homes. And shelter yes, homes is where women are taken if they're abused in their homes, but people are supposed to take care for them and love them, I mean their husbands. So in other words, yes, you can actually see a district that has high incidences of gender-based violence. And if you have GBV, then it means the family is in disarray and the children won't be taken care of. I know there is that shelter home, but is it sustainable? Yes. Is it sustainable? What can be done ultimately to solve the issue of GBV that affects the child?
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Kamara. That is very true. And I'm telling you that there is a lot of family disorder that is causing all these irregularities. What should be done? People need awareness. Somebody must have knowledge of how a sustainable family life, no matter poor or rich, is supposed to be kept, supposed to be administered. Because we find very many children marrying at the age of 14 because of the cruelty of their parents after they have conceived. And now this is what we want the parent to do. You'll be told that a child can be given a second chance even when they have become pregnant. After they have given birth, let them go back to school and then accept it back home. But if we don't do that, the child is going to be forced into another marriage. And what shall happen is that while the boy takes her, is not ready for marriage, and you stay for the months that can help you avert the case, and then you begin battering the woman. You usually say it is gender-based violence between marrieds, but they are not yet ready for marriage. And therefore, awareness for the people and the parents to keep guiding these children so that they don't marry at another age is important.
All right.
And also,
all right, you can hold on.
A deliberate effort by government should be put into place to enforce, not again impoverishing the local governments, because there is nothing that can be done tangibly if there is no facilitation. And there is that deliberate effort affirmative action by government in areas of gender through the district or local government structures so that desensitization is widely done.
All right. I want to thank you, Mr. Mugude there. You can hold on to your points because you're going to come back to you. Let me get into the studio here with the Stella and and Balam. Stella, one of the maybe a solution would be to ensure the girls are in school, and if they continue in school, then they can delay early marriage. No one would want to get them, married when they are in school. We have a universal primary education, you have universal senior education, and probably government should think about how you can continue having girls in school, because that would be a proper way of protecting them.
Yes, I think you have said it. Education is actually the cheapest, should I call it, contraceptive out there. Once the girl stays in school for at least 14 years or more, they'll be able to prolong the onset of, sexual debut and also avoid teenage pregnancy. Because if they study for 14 years at the very least, that means they'll complete the primary, and those are 7 years, plus also complete the senior 6 years, and maybe add on 2 of vocation or tertiary and gain a skill. So it is important. And the challenges that we have is that you've heard that the teenage pregnancy rate is 25%, but that is even higher in rural areas. And rural areas, the challenges are that the schools are actually so far apart. Children walk long distances to get to those schools, in spite of a very good strategy for being able to tackle this vice of
Mr. Mujushe, when you look at our country, you realize there's a spike of some of these issues of teenage pregnancy and GBV in some areas, and in some areas it is less. So I wonder, why do we see a spike in some areas and of these problems, like Mr. Mugude told us in the areas of Busoga?
Thank you, Mr. Kamara. What I can attribute this one to is the level of awareness and extent of participation of the various stakeholders. If the level of awareness and action being taken by the stakeholders against these issues is high, we would definitely see action and the trends that you have just talked about. Most some of these things happen because people are lacking information. Some of these things happen like what my colleague here was saying, access to education is not easy. But fortunately, what I had talked about earlier, all these are in government policies. As you are aware, each parish is supposed to have a government primary school. And then relatedly, we also have these government workers. How they are involved in terms of mobilization, in terms of sensitization, also has an impact. Because they are already well-set policies, policies on the GBV, the policies on sexual reproductive health, all these are in place. But how we are interpreting them and implementing them at our community level
dynamism. The young people are a potential. In fact, you people in the population, you always say that you're working so hard so that we can have what you call the demographic dividend, so that they can be useful, they can be of value, they can add and into the economic development. But are you, are you confident that as a country we shall harness the potential of young people to get demographic dividend? Yet I don't see you actually, as government, investing in them for you to achieve that.
Thank you, Patrick. I think government has actually made very good progress in ensuring that we work towards harnessing of the demographic dividend. And this is actually very well articulated in the National Development Plan 3, which has programs and pillars that focus on human capital development. And now more than ever, under those programs in the National Development Plan 3, the strategy of harnessing the demographic dividend has actually been very well articulated. And in articulating it, they look at how to contribute to the dividend by ensuring programs to do with education, what we've talked about keeping the children in school. And it's not only the girl child. Yesterday, I think there was a colleague here who talked about it, that even boys need to be paid attention to. Also aspects of skilling, very, very key. But the demographic dividend, which I will just maybe briefly articulate it, which refers to the economic or accelerated economic growth that can be realized when a country invests in its young people in terms of health, in terms of skilling, in terms of employment, as well as good governance. So for us to realize the demographic dividend, all those things have to fall in place, and they have to be paid, equal attention has to be paid to each of them. You cannot focus on one at the expense of the other. And for Uganda, that accelerated, we must see an accelerated decline in fertility to be able to have the first steps of harnessing the DD.
So what
and the fertility decline, we are beginning to see it, Patrick. So do not despair. There is a transition that is happening. When you look at Uganda's fertility trends, our fertility rate used to be in the upper 6 right now, and it was stuck there for a very long time, 6 children per woman or 7 children at one time. Now it's coming down. We are currently at 5, 5.4 or 5 children per woman. And the difference of 2 children seems very small, but it is quite big as well. And that is, it shows the signs of a demographic transition. The transition has begun, and we cannot go to sleep yet. More needs to be done, actually, to be able to accelerate the demographic transition.
Again, the other thing that can delay maybe a lady from having a child, girl from having children, is again school. Because by the time they go through school, college or university, probably they are not going to have as many as they would have had if they started at the age of 16. We still have to add 1 million people on our population almost every year. You know the figures more than I do. But that is a big figure to add. I think we have the third fastest or the
third fastest.
The third fastest growing population in the world.
Yes.
That is huge, Mr. Mwijushe. And I wonder whether we need to do more to reduce on that, because the economy and our resources may not be able to sustain that population. Okay, they could sustain that population if the economy was advanced.
Yeah. And
okay, what you are saying, Patrick, is an issue that can be, that can attract a debate. Because if you compare the population of, say, Uganda and other countries, in terms of numbers, I think that is not a serious issue. But when you look at the quality I think that's where now the issues come in. Whether we are adding 1 million or we are adding maybe 200,000, to me the question is about the quality, not the actual numbers.
Okay.
If we look at it that way, and if we don't have deliberate programs to ensure that the quality of these added Ugandans improves, then we are in trouble. But the good thing is that we shouldn't look at the glass as half empty.
Okay.
I think we should look at it as half full because of the interventions that really government is advancing and putting in place to address some of these issues.
Balam, hold on to your point there. I just want to bring in people who are joining us on Zoom, and I'm going to advise on Zoom if you can turn down the volume of your TV, or maybe you mute the TV so that it doesn't bring an echo. Earlier I had an echo there. I have, I think, still on standby, Mr. William Kasoro. And William Kasoro, you are the district chairperson for Ntoroko in the Rwenzori sub-region. We earlier had you, but there was a little of disconnection there. So if you can continue telling us the challenges, because your region also has a problem of teenage pregnancy. The push factors and how are you dealing with it, Mr. Kasoro? Unfortunately, I'm not able to hear you. I can see you. I was hearing the noise in the background, but maybe you can try again, Mr. Kasoro.
Can you get me, Patrick?
Yes, now I'm hearing you loud and clear. Continue, please.
Yes, thank you, Patrick. In the Rwenzori sub-region and specifically in Ntoroko, the push factors for this problem of the challenges of accessing education, like the other participants have contributed. You find the children, especially girls, walk long distances to go to primary schools. Yes, it is true. Government has put in place a policy of having a primary school in every parish and a secondary school in every sub-county, but there are some sub-counties that do not have.
Okay. Again.
Have secondary schools. So,
okay. Please continue. Okay.
I request would be that government violence issues and also terrorism, but rather the bad terrorism in the district.
We have lost the communication line. It's not loud and clear anymore, Mr. Kasoro there. But you're telling us about the issue of education, and then I think you concluded by telling us the bad terrain. I know in Ntoroko some part is a little bit mountainous, I think in the areas of Karugutu, but also you have the lake areas, so I wonder how that is affecting the sub-counties of Kanara and all these places, and Rwebsengo. Okay, we are going to get back to you, Mr. Kasoro, but I think I'm trying to get another person online. The network is really bad. I wonder if I can still get the cow for Chankwanzi, Marion Pamela, cow Chankwanzi.
Yes.
Yes, you can. Yes, I'm online.
Okay, Marion Pamela, just you have heard from the district chairpersons, you have heard from the commissioner, yes, and you have heard from Stella. I mean, what would be your submission in this discussion, given what you have heard?
I beg your pardon?
You have heard from all these panelists. What would be your submission in the discussion, given what you have heard so far?
Yes, my submission is that to address those issues, we need to have the facilities in place, and indeed the facilities are in place. Whereas it is true that not all the parishes have got secondary school, primary schools, government aided, I think as a country we've reached, and a district, if I must talk for Chankwanzi, we've reached a level where we don't have a government-aided primary school, we've got at least a private school. And yes, the long distances are there, but the private schools come in and mitigate. And the partners also support and make sure that some of those issues that affect and influence adolescents are mitigated. In terms of secondary schools, the government is putting in place under a special fund facilities, and gradually we'll have every sub-county with the secondary schools, because the efforts are there to ensure that this happens. And yes, we need to get on board all the different parties and partners, and this is happening through the community-based services department. The issue of domestic violence, the issue of child marriages, the issue of school dropouts is being addressed through mobilization, through sensitization, through communication. And also the other issue that is happening is the issue of institutions, ensuring that through the resources that are sent to local governments, we put in place facilities that can encourage the girl child to stay in school. Because part of the reason of these early marriages and pregnancies is the girls dropping out of school, because maybe the facilities out there are not user-friendly. A young girl gets into her periods, the toilets are not separated, the senior women teachers have not talked to her or have not prepared her for what might come. And when we go back to the families, maybe the parents have those other issues about the parents. The mother is not able to sit down this girl and tell her what is coming to her. But it's being mitigated by the presence of the senior women teachers in the schools out there, by the presence of facilities, sanitary facilities that can ensure privacy of the girls when they're in their periods. And all this is geared towards ensuring that they stay at school.
Okay.
And then sorry?
All right. Okay, you can conclude your point there before I bring in another person.
Okay, and then regarding the poverty trends and poverty levels, the youth-friendly services, among others, talk about ensure the progress of the children, but also the different government affirmative programs ensure that the children that may not necessarily be in school but they are still adolescents can get a penny or two, so that they are not enticed by vouchers that would want to take advantage of their poverty.
All right, Marion, Pamela, I want to thank you. Please stay online. We'll get back to you. Marion raises a very important issue for the girl child and sanitary facilities in schools, because this could happen, and then at the end of the day, if they are not prepared, they may not want to go back to school. But also, in some families, they may not afford the sanitary towels. Your take, Mr. Mwejuche.
Thank you. And regarding what my sister Marion has talked about, I definitely agree with her. But what I had earlier said, we need to look at the glass as half full, not empty. There are efforts, particularly in government-aided schools, to have in place facilities, especially toilets and urinals for both boys and girls, to have in place a dedicated person to counsel, to give advice to the girl child. All these people are in place. And then alongside that, we have a number of programs for those who are even outside the formal education. She talked about the Community Development Department. This cuts across the entire country, And within that sector, we also look at the youth outside school. We have programs that run under functional adult literacy, and they look at the family. So through these interventions, a government is able to address some of those issues, although it may not be as expected 100% in some places, but the strategy and policies are there to address some of these issues.
Okay. The policies have always been there, and the strategy and the programs, and many people, commend us for making very good strategies and preparation and policies. Our problem still has always been to work on those issues so that they can bring value to the people of Uganda.
Yes, thank you, Patrick. I think, as you rightly said, we're very good at the policy development. We have very smart policies, and the issue would be on implementation. But I am actually confident that with the new programming, the guidelines by government, or the new perspective under the National Development Plan of working on issues, on programs as not as sectors, but collaboratively. As the Commissioner said, multi-sectoral approach, we can be able to contribute. For instance, one issue like teenage pregnancy, you would have the Ministry of Agriculture contributing. Why the girls maybe are not staying in school? Could it be an issue of nutrition? Maybe they don't have food. Maybe it's an issue of, yes, at home they don't have food, so they are looking, they don't go to school, but you find them on the streets looking for something to take back home. How can the ministry be able to, teach them that they can be able to utilize whatever foods that they have, local foods in the community, to get nutritive diets. It can also be an aspect of the Ministry of Health working together with the Ministry of Local Government and multi-sectoral collaboration. But also civil society, now more than ever, has picked interest in this issue. Partners have come on board to support the implementation of programs, development of programs, and also they are supporting government efforts to ensure that the girl child stays in school.
All right. Yeah. Stella and Balam and our panelists who are joining us on Zoom, we're going to take a very quick break, and this broadcast will be right back.
UBC will broadcast live a televised virtual symposium on the 2021 World Population Day this Friday, 9th July, from 2 to 4 p.m. under the topic, The Role of Young People in Advancing the Campaign Against Child Marriage and Teenage Pregnancy. On Saturday, 10th July, 2 to 4 p.m. under the topic, Strengthening Local Government Actions to End Child Marriage and Teenage Pregnancy. And Sunday, 11th July, 2 to 4 p.m. under the topic, COVID-19 and Beyond, a spotlight on Uganda's adolescent reproductive health.
Experience 100% 4G speeds across Uganda with the Airtel 4G Pocket Wi-Fi available at 123,000 shillings only. It comes with a backup battery and 15 GB free for 1 month. Visit the nearest Airtel shop, device selling shop or Airtel online shop. www.airtel.co.ug/broadband-discover. Airtel, the smartphone network.
Hello everyone, my name is Derek Aina Dasha.
And my name is Ann Taylor. Together
we are
Lucky 3 brand ambassador. We want to let you know that this time we're bigger, better and easier. Simply dial *185 *88 hash and select Lucky 3.
The order of the 3 numbers doesn't matter. Any order you give us, you stand a chance of walking away with the weekly jackpot.
Don't forget to catch the show on Magic 1 HD.
UBC TV every Tuesday at exactly 7:30 p.m. Lucky 3 Chisoboka.
It is possible.
Airtel Uganda has the best and most affordable rates when it comes to withdrawing and sending money. Withdraw money for as low as 330 shillings up to a maximum of 12,500 shillings. Sending money is just as affordable as ever. Absolutely unbeatable. Use Airtel Money on the most affordable network with the largest network of Airtel Money branches in Uganda. Dial *185 hash to get started. Airtel Money. Simple, secure, borderless.
Patriotism is a feeling of love, devotion, and the willingness to sacrifice for one's country.
I say no to corruption because I put my country first. I choose peace over violence because I put my country first.
Patriotic, Uganda first. This message is brought to you by the National Secretariat for Patriotism Co Uganda, Office of the President.
Man, guess what happened yesterday? I entered the what? The taxi. But the pregnancy is from the what? The generator. Then my phone does toot, and the toothbrush breaks in the what? In the porridge. Then I call who?
Wait, what?
First wait, I'm still telling you. Then the jerrycan does what?
Love to talk? MTN My Paka Paka now has more minutes. Get My Paka Paka voice bundles to talk and talk at no extra charge. Dial *160*1 hash to activate My Paka Paka.
Everywhere you go, MTN.
Uganda first.
The patriotism program in secondary schools was launched in 2009 by His Excellency the President of the Republic of Uganda, General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, and he was focusing on secondary schools to make sure that we develop a generation among the youth that is patriotic and is ready to serve and to sacrifice for their country.
Good enough, the President had a policy document. He went around, he met teachers. So when he appointed me to be in charge of the Secretariat, the work was clear. Ensure you bring the teachers on board because they are the ones who ordinarily most of the time are with the young people.
As a patriot, I joined the Patriotic Club in 2018 when I had just joined the Mighty College, Trinity College, Nabingo, and each of us that joined that year, we had to undergo that exercise. I learned a lot of things because I was also given the responsibility to lead the parade by then. As young as I was, we were with Form 1s and Form 5s, but I made an effort to take it through.
There are some core values that we cherish as a country. Okay. The core values, hard work, the core values of time management. Do you respect the environment?
Integrity.
Are you united as a community, or you are promoting those divisions that we don't encourage?
One of the values of patriotism is love, sacrifice, obedience, and very many things we do for our country.
Patriotism taught me to be a responsible person, someone that carries myself with integrity, with pride of who I am.
It motivates you, it teaches you to learn
to love anything surrounding you. Uganda is not just a name.
I've learned many values from it, and one of them is love, there is discipline, respect, hard work, and keeping time.
I have learned virtues of love, respect, integrity, and loving one another.
Are you clean? Do you encourage your people to remain clean?
Yes.
Are you responsible? Do you respect public property? Do you respect yourself as a human being?
Sure.
In the offices where you are, is there integrity? At your workplace, are you honest enough? All those are core values of patriotism.
The best things that I learned are, at the end of it all, when you're patriotic, you can become successful and you can prosper in life.
These virtues have helped me in my roles of leadership.
Before joining patriotism, I didn't have love for the nation. I didn't have love for my country, Uganda. But then, after becoming a patriot, I love Uganda. I love others and myself.
Be patriotic, Uganda first. This message is brought to you by the National Secretariat for Patriotism Co Uganda, Office of the President.
Experience 100% 4G speeds across Uganda with the Airtel 4G Pocket Wi-Fi available at 123,000 shillings only. It comes with a backup battery and 15 GB free for 1 month. Visit the nearest Airtel shop, device selling shop or Airtel online shop. www.airtel.co.ug/broadband-discover. Airtel, the smartphone network.
Talking about issues affecting young people, especially teenage pregnancy. That's a big problem in Uganda. My guests in the studio are Stella Kigozi Makumbi, who's Director, Information and Communication at the National Population Council. We also have Assistant Commissioner in charge of Planning at the Ministry of Local Government, Mr. Simwe Balam Mwijuche. But we also have people who are joining us by virtual means. On Zoom, we have Andrew Napeja, who is a District Chairperson for Moroto. We have the Kao Chankwanzi, who is the Marion Pamela Tokahurirwa. We have the District Chairperson for Ntoroko, Kasoro Williams. We also have the District Chairperson for Kamuli, Charles. So I'll be getting all those colleagues on Zoom to continue with giving us their perspective. We never had an opportunity to hear from Andrew Napeja from Moroto District. And Andrew Napeja, you're the District Chairperson. And Moroto is also a place that has a problem, a spike of teenage pregnancy. We want to hear how big the problem is and how are you dealing with it, and what would be your prescription to change the situation. Andrew, if you can. Andrew, we are waiting here to hear. Andrew from Moroto, we are waiting to hear from you. Unfortunately, we are still having communication challenges to reach Andrew in Moroto. We also have comm challenges to... Andrew, unfortunately, I'm able to hear the ambience or the voices around you, but I'm not hearing you, and that's funny. All right. Maybe let's go back to Kamuli, where we had the Kamuli District Chairperson. Charles, if you can hear me.
Kamara?
Yes, sir, Charles. Just tell us what you plan to do now to solve the problem you earlier talked about.
Yeah, what we plan to do.
Yes.
First, I wanted to make a comment on what my sister was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And brother, was brother from Ntoroko.
Yes.
They were talking about a retainable population,
mm-hmm.
and just a size of population that is not easily retainable for any task that brings about development and sustainability in the development of a country. And the theme that you sent us, Mr. Kamara, was that the Population Council sent us was that strengthening local government actions to end child or early marriages and teenage pregnancies. There is something that we have got to do. Mr. Kamara, our laws in Uganda here are very good and on paper. Even when we don't amend them now or add others, the ones that are there are good to go if properly enforced. I want to talk about one element that is almost killing everything, even in service delivery where we are in local governments. This problem is corruption. When you find a place where there are problems of early pregnancies and teenage marriages, you realize that the law has been hidden. It has been locked up. Because you find parents negotiating such a case to set free a filer. And then they force this young girl to go marry a person who has made them pregnant. And now you go to police, still the same thing. They don't allow these cases reach the court. And sometimes if they are not brought to book, people have no reason to fear this evil. The vice continues because they know, after all, you'll get some little money, give to the needy parents, and finally nothing is done. So we need seriousness in as far as enforcement of our laws is concerned.
But also,
and while you ask me what we are going to do.
But also, Mr. Chairman, I wonder what your view is on the issue of a girl who has been raped, and then the case is taken to court. First of all, filling in those papers alone is very traumatizing at the police. They'll be asking a lot of questions to put up a statement. And also, if you went to court, sometimes the lawyers can just, tear the young girl apart, asking questions that can make her relive the whole episode of what she went through. What would be the best way so that these children can have justice, but also you don't make them relieve the trauma of what they have gone through? Because I think that's an issue as well.
All right. Mr. Kamara, I do agree with you that sometimes this trauma makes other people just leave everything the way it is. But what I would propose that should be done, fine, you withhold the identity of the girl, protect the girl, but you still go ahead and do something professional. Because if we all know that out of explanation fatigue and trauma we are going to fear to handle this, then we are going to leave the problem. Protect the girl out from explanations when we are not able to protect her from the things that could cause her conceived at the time she is not prepared. So I would propose that yes, it has come, that she has conceived early at an early age, but we still need to show that this law can bite and that the officials also act professional. You handle a child knowing that this is a person that did not enter this act with consent. We very well know that they are underage. Before 18 years, somebody cannot decide for themselves. And so when you ask questions, it's like you don't ask the questions as if you want to win the girl, but you should ask questions that are protecting the girl's plight. And more emphasis is put on the person that could have made this girl pregnant. And so that person is brought to book. Otherwise, if the law is not enforced properly, in the name of corruption, kitu kidogo, we are going to leave this and it will affect us. And Mr. Kamara, about the population, what we intend to do, people have family planning devices that they are supposed to use. It is a national strategy about controlling population. At one point, the president of Uganda was talking about his positivities about big population and equating us to Singapore, China, and showing how good a big population is. But this big population that cannot sustain itself, that is not retainable for any task that is developmental and that can help economic growth, still remains a burden. Can we go ahead and improve the size of population that we have so that every head we add, we know that we are adding onto productivity? But Mr. Kamara, even the grown-up people claim we don't have jobs. but these people have chunks of land which they have just let out to cane growers. We are not doing work ourselves. So we need to do much at the local level, even before we reach court. We need some improvement on how sensitization is done, on how we preserve values, on how we parent our children, so that we can solve this. But in doing that, everyone has a role to play.
Okay.
The parents, government, the local governments, and also the children themselves.
All right. I think you have put it very proper there. Comprehensive. Everybody has a role to play, from the girl child, the boy child, the family or the parents, the communities in which they live, the local councils, the government, and the cultural leaders. And we are lucky we have all these cultural leaders. How far have you gone in working with the cultural leaders, Stella, so that they can address this issue of teenage pregnancy and child marriages?
Thank you, Patrick. The National Population Council, working with the line ministries, Ministry of Gender, and also our local government partners, the district local governments, have actually reached out to cultural leaders in different parts of the country. We have worked with the cultural institutions right from the Toro Kingdom, I think where you come from, where you hail from.
Yeah.
I don't know if you hold a position there.
I used to be a minister in Toro Kingdom. So you're
yes,
speaking somebody very big.
Macholi. So we actually work with cultural institutions to put across this message in the culturally sensitive way, but we need to really step up. More effort is needed to ensure that the consistency of these messages. But yes, we do work with the cultural leaders, and in places where we have actually approached the population through the cultural leaders, there have been at least some like positive reception from the communities.
Okay, positive reception is a good thing you're telling us. And let me also try to go back to Ntoroko. I was trying to get in touch to Williams Kasoro, who's the district chairperson in Ntoroko. And earlier you're telling us your challenges. I want to try my luck again to see if the network is going to allow so that we can hear a little more from Williams Kasoro. Yes, the floor is yours, William.
Thank you, Patrick.
Okay.
Still on the challenging, you'll find securing justice for the victims of sexual and gender-based violence is very, very difficult in Ntoroko, because these offenses are triable by a grade 1 magistrate, and we have no grade 1 magistrates court stationed in Ntoroko. And so, follow-up of these offenders against these early pregnancy and the child defilement cases becomes very, very difficult. You also find there is a challenge of law adherence to voluntary birth registration, and when a case goes to court and there is no birth certificate to prove the age of the victim, definitely the case collapses. There is also a problem, a challenge of collusion between the parents, like my brother, the district person Kamoli submitted, collusion between the parents, police, and some political leaders on how to compromise these cases. So if we do not punish the offenders, then the child marriages and the teenage pregnancies will definitely continue, because there is no deterrence against these negative practices that we do not want, that are deterring the development of our people. our teenagers.
So Williams, you're pointing out that sometimes the parents can collude with the police in a case there has been a teenage pregnancy, and probably you wanted the perpetrators to be punished. So what can you do to ensure that parents have values, parents can raise their children in a manner that is expected of them? How do you sensitize them?
Patrick, we always have community-based services, have radio programs, but also we lack adequate funding for these programs. Now that we have very many priorities do with the flood victims, the refugees, the COVID is also here with us. But we have programs to guide parents on positive parenting through dialogues, to inform them about the benefits of allowing the girl children to continue in school, acquire skills so that they become productive, so that we also benefit from them. We are also, as a district, supporting integrated community outreaches for people to access sexual at the community level and at our health facility. We are doing that, and we also encourage parents to do sex education during this time at home, because COVID is not allowing them to get that education since schools are closed.
Okay. You can hold on. We want to thank you, William. We want to thank you so much for your contribution so far. We'll get back to you. I still want to hear from Karamoja, from Moroto. I'm going to try once more. At least we've had each one of you now, apart from Moroto. So I still want to hear from Andrew, if we can, because there's a problem in Moroto as well. And we want to know how big the problem is and what you're doing to give a solution. Andrew, if you can help me, I'm giving you another platform now.
Hello?
Yes, Andrew, now we can hear you. Andrew, please go right ahead.
Hello?
Yes, Andrew, we can hear you now, so please go right ahead.
Wow.
Okay.
Hello?
It's a pity I can't see. I think Andrew's not hearing us, though now we are hearing him. That was some development because we were able to hear his voice at least. So, there are government vocational institutions that have been built in different districts, including where I come from. But when you look at the enrollment, it is very low. And earlier you talked about skills, that if you skill these young people and you give them what to do, they become busy. Probably they will not be thinking, both girls and boys will not be thinking in engaging in some of these behaviors that can end up children getting pregnant or getting married early. Why is it that we still have very poor enrollment in institutions that really should be a game changer for Uganda? Balam.
Thank you, Patrick. I wish to state at this moment that the issue of mindset of Ugandans needs to be addressed, because the raw enrollment in these institutions is about how people conceive education. Because somebody would want to go primary, secondary, university, and so forth and so on. But is it the only way to achieve in this country, in this world? So the issue of mindset, that somebody must go through that system, I think needs to be tackled. And at this point, I would wish to make an appeal to our listeners, and particularly our local government leaders. Because at every level of local government, we have various categories of secretaries, production, education, information, and so forth and so on. Through our structures and leaders, we need to have the right mindset that will transform this country. It is not necessarily or only the academic excellence that is going to transform the country and the individual. These skills are very, very much important, and that's why government came up with these BTVET institutions. Most you can imagine if somebody finishes a BTVET, say taking a carpentry course or a mechanics course, it is easier to get employment than somebody who has again gone through the other form of education and came up with a bachelor of something. Because the other one easily gets absorbed in what the community requires.
They are also telling us that in some cases, people are going through university and they get the degrees, but they are not employable.
It also leads into that. You get a university degree, but the skill which you have come up with is not there. You have no skill. So nobody will need you. Even if, say, you are in accounts, you have never kept books of accounts for an institution like this one, NTV. Do you think they are going to employ you? Definitely no. But if you have that skill, where you can apply your hand, where you can apply your mental faculty, you can quickly get absorbed into the trades in the economy that are lacking the labor force.
I think also, Stella, that when children are going to school, even all of us are going through school, some of those values that have probably helped are not necessarily the values you picked from school. I'm talking about issues of integrity, issues of reliability, issues of time management, issues of respect, issues like those. You know, those are the things I suppose you can only get from home. And yet we are being told now that it's a problem at a family level because a typical Ugandan parent probably is lacking, you know, in values of raising a child with respect, a child with values, a child who understands work and stuff like that. Because now you're going to, if you have money and maybe you are a corporate Ugandan, instead of letting the children work at home, probably you're going to bring a maid and all this kind of stuff. And then they will rise when they actually do not know how to work. So how do you make sure you salvage the Ugandan family? Because from there, it's the bedrock of building a person that is whole.
Yes, thank you, Patrick. I think the issue goes back to the mindset, right from the, family level. How does the family work together? How is the family setup actually enhancing the issue of values? Do they have the community? How do they work together even outside the home? And the mindset change, yes, is quite key in this, but Patrick, also the role of community leaders cannot be forgotten, and also our leaders in local government. So in the strengthening of the family, we must also ensure that the community gets also to, it's strengthened as well so that they can be able to support the family. And there are challenges, especially in, as these young people are growing up, sometimes they maybe feel that the family is being too tough on them. But it is important that we do not let go of our responsibilities. We need to go back to our values. And I also liked, I think, the cow of Chankwanzi expressed it very well, the role of the family. It is something that we need to be able to support more, and it comes also with a lot of sensitization and mobilization. Now that you've talked about Marion Pamela in Chankwanzi, I want to come back to you, Marion Pamela, because as a cow, I want to know what commitment can you make on behalf of the chief administrative officers to address this issue, Marion Pamela.
Thank you. The commitment really is about us ensuring that mobilization is done, follow-up is done, enforcement is done, and the stakeholders are all brought on board. As indicated by the different panelists, part of the problem is poor communication and information flow. And it is our responsibility to make sure that all the stakeholders, especially the government stakeholders, during the implementation program, do take cognizance of the problem at hand and factor it in their various activities. And also, it is a commitment and a responsibility on our side to make sure that the different other actors that are non-state are put on board. They're involved in the planning meetings, they're involved in institutions, they're involved in the monitoring, but also they are
Marion Pamela, we are getting interruption. I don't know whether it's from you or somewhere else, but there's feedback and ambience around you. And if it is not from you, I'm sorry to say that.
It's not from me.
All right, sorry about that. I think some of our colleagues who are on the virtual, you need to mute your audio, so when you're not talking, so that it does not send the ambience around you. And for that matter, let me, as we continue this discussion, in Ntoroko, you are a border district. You are mountainous in one area, but you also have a lake in the other side. So the terrain is very different. You have fishermen, you have also people crossing the border, you have refugees coming in. And so your problem is big. I wonder, those unique problems, how you are handling them, Mr. Kasoro.
Yes, but we have enormous problems. But as a local government, we have set aside a piece of land for UNHCR and officials of the Prime Minister to set up a temporary transit camp for these people who are seeking asylum, transferred to resettlement camps, permanent resettlement camps. So, and we have also put in place screening on COVID-19, and yeah, we are handling within our means, but we acknowledge the government support, and we also thank the partners who have kept us moving.
So in most cases, we have had a problem that we sit in places like these and maybe talk about programs and policies, but they don't reach the people who should be listening to them. You have communities around Lake Albert, in Kanara and wherever. If you have information, how do you make sure that you have sensitized those people at the lake shores or up in the mountains? How do you get to them? Because it is one thing to talk about these good things, but then you risk to be making sense only to yourselves.
It is true, Patrick. Getting the information to the people who need it is a challenge in Ntoroko, but we are using the radio stations in Port Potro. Sometimes these radio stations do not have a coverage in some of the parts in the district.
Okay. I think, Williams, I think I'm going to stop. Williams, your network has gotten problems right now. And so we're going to hold on that. And then let me once again bring in the district chairperson for Kamuli. District chairperson for Kamuli, you've heard about submissions from the cow and submission from from Stella and from Balam. I want to hear from you on these issues once more. Mr. Chairperson, maybe you have muted your audio so I can't hear you.
Okay. Do you hear me now?
Yes, I do.
Oh, thank you. In the earlier submission I made,
okay,
I made a point that everyone have got to keep in their lane. Someone has got to play their role so that a combination of us all can bring this to a solution. Because in trying to fight this evil of early pregnancies, we all have a role to play, because where the parent is not where the child is. Where local government is not where the central government is. And so every one of us have got to do their work well. But I want to bring in this, that for all of us Ugandans who have looked at this problem, one, as parents, we even have big people, big men, who are defiling these children, and who should have taught at least these children the morals. Mr. Kamara, I want to say that as parents, the social norms should at least be encouraged among our children by ourselves. It is good you called in the cultural leaders. I have been reading, ever since I grew up, I've been reading about the female genital mutilation as a cultural norm, which also encouraged some immoral activities that could lead to early pregnancies. Talk about the cultural ceremonies of Imbalu in Gisu, where even mature people are moving with the children, but sexual intercourse is said to be part of ceremonies that also help the Imbalu be carried out well. Thank God there is some bit of change one of these days. The permissiveness and the promiscuity in society that is looked at freely and easily, at least should stop. Mr. Kamara, when I submitted earlier, you asked me what I were intending to do. One, I told you there are very many laws on paper that we intend to awaken, to try at least and ignite the enforcement bodies, the enforcement centers, to see that at least in our region we overcome, or if not to overcome, because the problem is yet big, but you can reduce. When you go back to the culture, when you go back to the religious norms, when you awaken police, because if you stop a file at police and you don't take it to court, then the defiler just walks away with it. It really encourages the potential to do the same. So to me as a person, I think very well that using the district structures, the local government structures up to LC1, we give them a chance to also handle this. At least if they are handling is up to reporting to the LC3, if it is up to reporting to the LC5 or to the gender department, which is actually supposed to specifically handle those problems, then we should empower them to do that. But above all, the sensitization and mobilization must be done.
Okay.
And also, we should make sure that our parenting gives such guidance to children. You as a parent, why would you for salt just send a child to a market where there are very many people? You want a kilo of salt and you are sending a girl child to the market in the evening? That is a responsibility.
All right.
Unless there is somebody mature you can send so that you can avoid the temptations that this girl could meet on the way.
Charles, I want to thank you. Charles Mugude Maxwell, District Chairperson for Kamuli. I want to thank you so much. You've been very useful in giving us value in understanding some of the things and also the challenges you meet. Now, listening to the CAO, listening to the District Chairperson, you as the Commissioner Planning, I wonder, what do you think should be prioritized as support to these districts in order to stop the problem that we see? What should you prioritize? Because you've had a lot of challenges that they're telling you.
Thank you, Mr. Kamara. May first have a rejoinder to two things. One is that government has come up with NDP3. And under NDP3, the thrust or the gist of the plan is a holistic approach. And this will break the silos which institutions hitherto have been accustomed to people working in silos, but now the problems will be solved and addressed in a more holistic manner. Two, at the grassroots level, again, government has come up with another strategy, which is popularly known as the parish development model. And again, the silo approach of delivering services to the people is at the core of this strategy. So, what we are going to see more and more is more targeted and unified interventions by the different government stakeholders, more coordination, and also there is a very, very big issue coming up now in terms of the mindset that which all these colleagues from the local governments have been talking about. Issues which need to be addressed through mobilization, issues which need to be addressed through sensitization. And under that parish model, one of the pillars is to deliver mindset change. And these are the issues that we will be speaking to during the implementation.
We have a ministry, I think, of national guidance. I thought maybe it could also help.
Yeah, we have. What I was saying that in this strategy of working as the whole of government, not national guidance working alone, not local government working alone, not gender working alone. These issues have been now brought on the radar of all these institutions so that we can address them with a uniform message, with a uniform strategy and avoiding duplication. For instance, the issues of GBV, the issues of these local councils not having the powers to handle some of these problems arising, I think will no longer be tenable, because the approach now is that you have the knowledge, you have the power, then go ahead and address the peculiar issues that affect teenage pregnancies, that affect development, that affect people really not being productively engaged in economic and social activities. So that's how we are looking at it as a local government and as a government. There is that process which is ongoing.
Let me ask our panelists on Zoom to give us concluding remarks. I'm going to begin with you, the district chairperson for Ntoroko, Williams Kasoro.
Thank you, Patrick. I was still submitting information on how, as a district in Ntoroko local government, we are disseminating message on against teenage pregnancies. We are using the partnerships at community level and our structures. The CDOs are doing outreaches. We also have Peaceful Family Health Initiatives, a local NGO by our religious leaders, headed by Reverend Father Diachiraho Deus and Pastor Bamloho from Town Council, that is involved in sensitizing through their churches. The only unfortunate part of it is that the COVID has caused the closure of these programs. But we are also trying to look at an idea of having a regional youth development project on health, education, and social protection for Rwenzori sub-region. We were yesterday discussing during the pre-conference meeting on World Population Day with the district planner of Bunyangabu, who is a very strong supporter of this idea that if we can, as Rwenzori sub-region, team up the leaders and the technical team to address the issues of teenage pregnancies and early marriages, we can go a long way. Because these issues are largely to do with the culture, the challenges we have, and so people may get girls from Toroko, have them married off in Bunyangabu or Kasese. But if it is if there is a regional approach, a regional youth development project, we can, as leaders, support and request the government, the central government, facilitate and fund our activities. Thank you, Patrick.
Okay, thank you so much, William Kasoro there. At least you have told us what you're planning to do. You seem to be very committed to those things. We wish you the best there. And maybe ultimately and slowly we can see some change. And the girls in Uganda and in Toroko in particular can keep in school and be of value to their families and of value to our nation. Let me go to you, Mr. Charles Mugude Maxwell from Kamuli with your concluding remark.
All right, thank you, Brother Patrick. I would like to give my conclusion as being that ultimately, as government, we have to well and critically identify the occasions of these two vices, the early marriages and the early pregnancies. You call it teenage marriages and teenage pregnancies, and then there be able to empower our communities with knowledge so that we create awareness of how dangerous and bad these two vices can affect the community negatively. Thereafter, we need to adequately empower the local government structures, where you have to consider them even in budgeting, that while they do this, it involves movements, it involves meetings, so that you facilitate at least meagerly their movements to the communities they're going to handle, because you cannot do it in your home. Away from the COVID problem, I think when we go over it, we can move from one place to another and therefore disseminate information on how these two can affect us. I want to call upon fellow parents and Ugandans to just begin living a responsible life. And we have to change the stereotype of thinking that the leaders we have voted for in power are going to give us everything, and that you don't work, but you call the children to go to work to earn a living for the family. That's very painful. So that this is done, because from the center it can hardly be enforced. All we require from the center is to reawaken the laws, our good laws that are lying on paper, to see that at least the community is fearful of the law that bites.
Mr. Charles Mugude Maxwell, LC5 chairperson for Kamuli, I want to thank you so much for your submission. And so now let me go to Marion Pamela, the Chief Administrative Officer for Chankwanzi, so that we can hear your concluding remarks on this discussion.
Thank you very much. The silos of planning have been broken, and we can now support each other via the different resources in the various departments. And so it will take each of us to ensure that we recognize that the problem is there and address it. And we also need to commit and continue using the structures of government, of the political leaders, and the various other actors that touch the ground to inform and mobilize our families and communities about the problem, but also to facilitate those that may not have the ability to get the information across to the law enforcers. we also need to keep encouraging our partners and stakeholders to keep supporting the cause of ending child marriages, and also help the various institutions that are responsible for this girl child, and especially as supervisors and monitors, to have them do what they're supposed to do to protect and curb the vice of early marriages.
Thank you so much, Marion Pamela there in Kyankwanzi. I want to thank all of you there who have joined us, Marion Pamela, Charles Mugude Maxwell, Williams Kasoro, and Andrew. We did not get an opportunity to talk to Andrew because of communication challenges. So our panelists on Zoom, we say Kwaheri. Thank you so much. You've been so valuable this evening. We've learned a lot from you, and have also suggested a lot of solutions. I'm sure people in managing the affairs of our country are listening to you, and perhaps this will change for the better of the Ugandan child. And so, Commissioner, you have concluding remark.
Thank you. I want to thank the listeners who have been with us all this time since the session began. And I appeal that this is a multi-sector responsibility. The challenges for teenage pregnancy and early marriages are there, but in a multi-sector approach, we will be able to overcome. And from the perspective of government, we have the programs, we have the policies, and we shall support our institutions at the local government level to ensure that these challenges of early marriage and teen pregnancy continue to be handled in the manner that I have just mentioned, multi-sector. And lastly, the local government ministry usually conducts induction for leaders, and these are some of the issues that we always interact with, and we have a program soon in the course of this financial year again to interact with leadership and bring to the forefront these issues that we have just talked about.
Thank you so much. Very briefly, Stella, your parting shot.
Yes, thank you, Patrick. I want, as we end, to further contextualize this discussion that we're having today. This discussion today was basically for us to hear from the local government leaders on how they can strengthen strategies to address child marriage and teenage pregnancy as part of discussion around the 2021 World Population Day event. And with support of partners, the development partners, the UNFPA, the Netherlands Embassy, and partners in the Sexual Reproductive Health and Rights Alliance, we convened a pre-World Population Day dialogue for district leaders in Rwenzori sub-region. And the issues that the leaders have talked about today were actually, they were shared, and the 9 districts in that sub-region came up with strong recommendations. And among some of those recommendations is the issue, of course, of enforcement. They want to be able to strengthen enforcement because a lot of stories are coming out. Yes, the teenage pregnancies are happening, child marriages, but how do we enforce? And then also to let you know, Patrick, that a quality population is the greatest resource that we have as a country.
All right.
Thank you.
Stella Kigozi Makumbi, thank you so much. Commissioner Balam Asim Mujucha, I want to thank you. And the district chairpersons who joined us, plus the cow for Kyankwanzi, I want to thank you. But also I want to thank you, our viewers, for the great company. Good night, and God bless you, Uganda.
Kaminga is brought to you by
Mirinda.
Therefore, understanding this model. Hey, excuse me, lady. Who do you think you are? A queen?
Hey, haven't you heard? Get Airtel Chillax bundles and browse like a queen.
Get Airtel Chillax bundles that do not expire and browse like a queen or king. Dial *175# or use My Airtel app.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
Hello everyone, my name is Derek Aina Dasha.
And my name is Ann Taylor. Together,
we are
Lucky 3 brand ambassador. We want to let you know that this time we're a bigger, better and easier. Simply dial *185 *88# and select Lucky 3.
The order of the 3 numbers doesn't matter. Any order you give us, you stand a chance of walking away with the weekly jackpot.
Don't forget to catch the show on Magic 1 HD.
UBC TV every Tuesday at exactly 7:30 p.m. Lucky 3 Chisoboka.
It is possible.
My name is Pastor Martin Semper, aka Gabriel Baba Gwanga Mujeri Yesu. I am the pastor of Makerere Community Church at Makerere University. I want to remind and appeal to you the importance of practicing washing your hands even when you are at home. Make sure that at least every 15-30 minutes you wash your hands. You move to the left, because when people at home, they forget, they only wash when they are entering an arcade, a business or a big building. Now, whenever you are moving from place, even at your home, make at the tap inside your compound, let it be a good practice that you are continuously washing water and soap. When you do that, in addition to others, you will overcome and be able to keep away disease, COVID, and other communicable diseases that are also there even during this time. So again, I'm Pastor Gabriel Baba Gwanga Muje, aka Martin Semper, appealing, reminding, strengthening you that washing hands saves lives.
Nkwaniriza nnyo ku UBC TV olunaku olwaleero olunaku lwa mukaaga ennaku z'omwezi 10 tuli mwezi ogw'omusanvu omwaka 2021 bakulisayo nnyo mwenna abava okukakkalabya abasobodde ate nammwe abatasobodde ne tubasaasira ssawa ya UBC leero ng'ogakutuusaako nze Amina Nabuule Kajimu. Emboozi etandise olunaku lwaffe olwaleero y'eyokuba nti abantu abasobera ddala mu 8 beebolekeddwa okusubwa okufuna ensimbi za gavumenti zegenda ddala mu maaso n'okugaba okubanga zidduukirira abantu mu nzingwanamu 2 ez'omuggalo ezalangirirwa omukulembeze w'eggwanga olw'ebyuma bikalimagezi okulemererwa okuweereza amannya gaabwe mu bakulu naddala abakwatibwako ensonga. Bano bagamba nti okuva ng'ennaku z'omwezi 5 omwezi guno bagezezzaako enfunda eziwerako okuweereza amannya gaabwe kyokka n'okutuusa olunaku olwaleero bikyagaanyira nga n'essuubi litandise okubaggwako.
Abeetaavu abasoba mu 8 mu bitundu by'ekisolo boolekedde okusubwa okwefunira ku buyambi bw'ensimbi za gavumenti ez'omuggalo gwa COVID-19 oluvannyuma lw'okugezaako enfunda eziwerako okusindika amannya gaabwe mu bakulu abakwatibwako wabula ebyuma bikalimagezi ne bibeegaana. Bino byogeddwa akulira ebyenkulaakulana mu disitulikiti y'ekisolo Birungi Front mu nsisinkano ne Minisita Mbezi ow'ekikula ky'abantu Saalanyira Bashiisi ku mukolo ogw'okulondoola ebyokuwandiisa abanaafuna ku nsimbi zino wegutuuse ekisolo. Birungi agamba nti mu bantu be baawandiisizza mulimu abaddukanya omulimu ogw'okusaabaza abantu mu bbaasi, takisi ne bodaboda, ab'amabaala, abayimbi, abasaaluuni, abasomesa, abooza mmotoka, abatembeeyi n'abalala.
The issue of determining vulnerability. In Kisoro, Honorable Minister, we have Batwa people. People were saying Batwa have not been victimized because of COVID restrictions, because all over maybe they have been poor. And you remember, we are saying this is not relief. This is not poverty alleviation, but relief fund due to COVID restrictions. Then we have also cross-border, as our mayor talked about it, where we have been having a lot of people. These people come here, Maraya, you all know, and Kisoro is peculiar, is special in that way.
Meya wa munisipaali y'Ekisolo Ndiana Richard asabye minisita n'abatawuni kanso balowoozebweko mu nteekateeka eno era ng'ayagala n'abakulembeze ku mitendera egy'enjawulo beenyigire butereevu mu by'okutuusa obuyambi bw'ensimbi ku bantu abeetaavu olwo nno omulimu gutambule bulungi.
The income system submitting online, it was not yet available. Then the second day when he had took the soft copy, it's when the link was on. The link was on for only 1 day and a half. And if you see all that information cannot be entered in 1 day and a half. So maybe if next time there is a program that is coming which needs online application, it has to be given time, not only 1 day.
Ye Minisita Mbezi atwala abaana n'abavubuka mu Minisitule y'ekikula ky'abantu Saalanyira Bashiisi agumizza abakulembeze b'ekisolo ng'ekizibu eky'okuweereza amannya bwe kigenda okukolwako.
We knew that town councils and municipalities and sub-counties have records. We knew you had records. We didn't know that there was need for data what? For data collection. That's what we had in mind, that now if I am a CDO, I know in Kisoro here, I have these people who are vulnerable, I have this private, you go to the inspector's office, you know how many private teachers they have in this municipality. That is what we had in mind. We didn't know that now there was need to go and now move, look for all this data. But this is an eye-opener that we should have data in our offices. If you know that...
Minisita mu ngeri y'emu agambye nti baliko obuyambi obulala bwe basuubira okufuna mu bagabi b'obuyambi n'agamba nti bwe bunaaba butuuse baakwongera okudduukirira abantu abeetaavu ne mu bibuga ebitonotono. Minisita asabye abakulembeze okuwandiisa abatwa saako bamalaaya mu kitundu nabo basobole okuganyulwa mu nteekateeka eno.
ate ministry y'ekikula ky'abantu ekakasizza ng'omulimu ogw'okwekenneenya enkalala z'abantu abalina okuweebwa ensimbi emitwalo 10 egyabanyigiriziddwa mu muggalo nti mu bbendobendo lya Kampala gwo gunaatera okumalirizibwa era essaawa yonna okusasula kugenda kuba kutandika. UBC ewayizaamu n'omwogezi w'ekitongole eky'ekikula ky'abantu ngo ne Frank Mugabi n'atubuulira nti webukeeredde ng'ebikwata ku bantu abali emitwalo 2 bye bibadde byakafunikawo so nga n'abasoba emitwalo 5 nabo ensimbi baazifunye dda.
Okuweereza bannayuganda ensimbi naddala abakoseddwa embeera ereeteddwa omuggalo kwatongozebwa ku Lwokutaano lwa Ssabbiiti gye tuwunzika. Mu nteekateeka ewumiddwamu omutwe aba minisitule y'ekikula ky'abantu kumpi buli kimu kitambula kinnawadda.
Tuli mu mitwalo 22 n'okusukkawo abantu abayingiziddwa olwedde mu sisitemu yaffe y'okompyuta ku mutimbagano. Gyo twabadde ku mitwalo 17. So kikulaga nti information egenda eyingirawo okuva mu divisions.
Yadde nga guli gutyo bo abali mu bbendobendo lya Kampala bakyakukkuluma.
The particulars of the that data were not valid. You'd know that the boundaries or the administrative boundaries have been changing. So some administrative boundaries have changed, people have moved, people have died, there are other people who have come onto the database, although who should be on the database but have not been recorded. So there are so many areas that were not covered with the previous data.
Kampala wokka tulinawo abantu 15. So kitunulira bwotyo era oba osuubiramu okuluusibwamu okwo kubanga bano ababiyingiza kompyuta babijja ku lupapula. So okujja detail ku lupapula wali okugisa kompyuta kitwala obudde.
Newankubadde omulimu gw'okwekenneenya abantu abatuufu abalina okuweebwa ensimbi z'omuggalo buvunaanyizibwa bwa minisitule y'ekikula ky'abantu. Bano bayambibwako ekitongole ky'ebya tekinologiya Kinita.
Initially we were required to clean up the available data. We know that there was some data that was with the ministry, and through the ministry's technical team we assisted to identify and clean clean up their data, what they had collected previously.
Tusuubira nti LC yakolagana n'abatuuze ku kyalo ne batereeza enkalala zino. So bo be basinga okumanya ani ali mu bwetaavu. So information webezze waffe ffe tukati tuba tutunuulira kulaba namba zikwatagana nini namba yeeyo y'omuntu sente tuzisindise omuntu omutuufu.
Okusinziira ku Frank Mugabi ng'ono ye mwogezi wa minisitule y'ekikula ky'abantu agamba abakyala abagoba ba bodaboda abakola mu masaaluuni ssaako n'abalala bamu ku basinze okuwandiisibwa wamu n'okusasulwa.
So Kampala weeyingirawo egyo emitwalo 15 n'ogigatta ku mitwalo 22 gye tulina kati olabira ddala nga tujja kuba oluusi tumalayo figa gye twetaaga ey'emitwalo 5. So ffe tetweraliikiridde kubanga cities wezinagwerayo municipality endala zonna wezinagwerayo okuweereza ne Kampala naye ejja kuba ewedde ate ffe kasita information etuuka ku mutimbagano kiba kyangu nnyo okutunulamu ani asaanidde ofuna ani atasaanidde ne tusasula.
Wabula wakati mu kuteekateeka enkalala zino abali mu kukola omulimu guno basanze okusoomoozebwa okuwerako okugeza ng'abamu okubanga ebiboogerako tebikwatagana bulungi.
So we are going out with the Ministry of Gender, Ministry of ICT to train them, retrain them. We had trained them before, but we found that some areas, the people who were trained are not the ones who are now at the point of data entry. So we have to train the new people and educate them on how to enter this data.
Mu tulina ery'obuwumbi obusoba mu 56 abawejjera abali eyo mu mitwalo 5 be basuubirwa okugabana ku nsimbi zino. Robert Onyango mu Kampala.
Wabalinyo Robert Onyango ate okuva omukulembeze we yalangirira omuggalo ng'emu ku ngeri eyokendeza ku nsasanya ekirwadde kya COVID-19. Abantu ab'enjawulo basoomozeddwa nnyo mu bulamu engeri gye babuyitamu. Abali ku mulimu gw'okuzimba be bamu kubakirizibwa okusigala nga bakakkalabya kyokka nabo bagamba nti basaana bakirizibwa okusukka ensalo za disitulikiti kubanga bafuna emirimu nga gyawala.
Okuva COVID lwe yabalukawo mu ggwanga, gavumenti ezeeteekawo omuggalo ng'emu ku nkola y'okendeeza okusaasaana kw'ekirwadde kino. Abali mu mulimu gw'okuzimba be bamu ku bakkirizibwa okusigala nga bakola, wabula nga balagirwa okusuza abakozi ku sayiti. Dirisa Sendegeya owa Sendiika Real Estate agamba basoomozeddwa nnyo ekirwadde kino newankubadde bakkirizibwa okusigala nga bakola.
Kampite wano ku TV yaffe eno okusaba gavumenti naffe aba construction abali mulimu guno gwa construction etulowoozeeko olw'ensonga nti tukola emirimu gino kuba kati ffe ofiisi yaffe eri Wakiso naye ate tuzimba ebizimbe e Mukono, tuzimba e Masaka.
Ono agamba gavumenti nabo yali badde bafunira ebipalati oba sitiika okusala ensalo za district kubanga waliwo emirimu gye bafuna nga gya wabweru wa Kampala ne Wakiso.
Ekizimbe kye mbadde nzimba ekyotera ekiseera kino ndi mukaluubirizibwa. Nina empigi we mbadde ndi mukola weekalagala. Ekiseera kino tuli mbuzibu. Kati naye kiri kiddayo ku kino kiddayo ku kiri kinasabye batulowoozeeko batukolere stickers naffe ezitukkiriza okutambula.
Ku bazimba ebizimbe ne byerindiggula nga tebinnamalirizibwa, agamba kivudde ku bannannyini bizimbe buteebuuza ku bakugu ne bakozesa abantu ab'ekiboggwe.
Kizibu ky'abakama baffe abatuwa emirimu gwe kukozesa buli gw'osanze gwe bagambye nti ateekawo bulungi bbirigi. So omulimu guno gulina abakugu baagwo. Gwe bulosanga gwe bagambye nti gundi yazimba enju ya mama Nakigudde n'otwala oyo era n'enju ye ejja kugwa.
Kino kijjidde mu kiseera ng'ennaku zino abakuumaddembe baakaaye. Omuntu okuyingira ekibuga alina kubanga ddala alina ensonga y'essimba kyokka ng'abazimbi abamu kampuni tezibawa bipalati. Nze Andrew Sebbira mu Kampala.
Webale nnyo munnaffe Andrew Sebbira. Ate okuva ekirwadde kya COVID-19 wekyabalukawo mu ggwanga lyattu Uganda, wabaddewo okweyongera kw'omuwendo gw'abantu abakwatibwa endwadde ezeekoosa ku ndwadde z'emitwe. Bino bikakasiddwa minisitule y'ebyobulamu era okusinziira ku bakugu mu nsonga z'ebyobulamu bagamba nti kino kisinze nnyo okuva ku bantu okwennyika ebirowoozo awamu n'okweraliikirira ku bulwadde bwa COVID-19. Abamu beeraliikira obulwadde buno obutabakwata ate abalala beeraliikira baŋŋanda zaabwe abakwatiddwa obulwadde.
Okusinziira ku minisitule y'ebyobulamu bannakampala baweze ebitundu 95 ku buli 100 beeraliikirivu ku ngeri ekirwadde kya COVID-19 gye kisaasaanamu 42 ku 100 balaba nga boolekedde okukwatibwa ekirwadde kino so nga 36 ku 100 bakakafu nti basobola okufuna obujjanjabi singa babeera bakwatiddwa ekirwadde kino. Okunoonyereza kuno okwakoleddwa abakugu mu byobulamu kulaga nti okuva ekirwadde kya COVID-19 kibalukawo mu ggwanga omulundi ogwokubiri, omuwendo gw'abantu abeeraliikirivu n'abakwatibwa endwadde ez'omutwe gweyongedde, nga kino kivudde ku bungi bw'abantu abafa ekirwadde kino, ebyenfuna ebifudde, wamu n'emisinde ekirwadde kino kwe kitambulira.
Ekyo kibaleetedde ebintu bingi. Ekimu ku byo nti abamu ku bo batandika okweraba nga tebakyanyumirwa kukola bintu bye baali bakola mu bulamu bwabwe. Abalala beezuula nga afuna obusungu obutategeerekeka, afuna okweraliikirira okutategeerekeka okutali kwa bulijjo.
Bubonero ki obulaga nti omuntu mweraliikirivu oba nti alumbiddwa endwadde y'omutwe?
Bw'aba yeebaka ekiseera kitono, ate abalala n'ekiseera kyeyeebaka kyeyongera. Abalala batuuka ekiseera ng'awulira n'obulamu tebukyalina mugaso, awulira singa afuna omukisa gwonna okwejja mu budde.
Dr. Swata Afuswa akulira eby'okujjanjaba endwadde z'omutwe mu minisitule y'ebyobulamu agamba nti abantu bateekeddwa okugumira embeera eriwo olw'ensonga nti ekirwadde kya COVID-19 kyaliwo.
Nagana okukkiriza siri mulwadde, nagana okukkiriza nze mama wange tannafa oba tata nga tannagenda oba sinnakola kino kwegamba ng'ate olwedde kikuliko okiraba n'ogamba nedda nze tekinnabaawo. Ekintu ekyo kirina bwe kikosa obwongo bwo kijja kutawaanya okusalawo okwo ku bintu ebimu.
Abakugu bagamba nti abasawo abali ku mulimu gw'okujjanjaba abalwadde ba COVID-19 bagwanidde okubudaabudibwa okusobola okutaasa ebiyinza okutuuka ku bulamu bwabwe oluvannyuma.
Tulabye nga n'abagamba nti bali bulungi ogenda okulaba nga byakola ng'era tali ki nga si wa mulembe bulungi. Kati twataddewo ekiseera buli wiiki buli basawo bateekwa okufunayo hours 2 essaawa 2 basobole okuba nga beeyamba okweddabulula obwongo bwabwe.
Gweza omwaka mulamba n'emyezi egigwamu kasookedde ekirwadde kya covid kibalukawo mu ggwanga nga mu kiseera kino abakakwatibwa basoba mu 86,000 so nga abaakafa kati basukka mu 2,000. Mu mbeera eno waliwo okusoomoozebwa kw'abasosola n'ababoola abaalumwa ku kirwadde kino.
As people who are working to support the mental health and psychosocial response, to put together messages and information that would help people to understand that, you know what, COVID-19 could also be like malaria. We have to be as careful as we are with malaria, just as we are with COVID-19.
Abakugu balabudde bannansi ku mawulire agafulumizibwa ku mikutu gya social media agasinga nga gaba ga bulimba era nga gano gatadde bangi mu kutya n'okweraliikirira. Nze Namammonde Deborah wano mu Kampala.
Atakulira abalamuzi Dr. Flavian Nzeija alagidde kooti zonna okukomya omuze ogw'okujjanga endagamuntu ku babeera bazze okweyimirira abantu mu kooti kubanga basobola okubanga abantu bano oluusi bafuna obuzibu singa baba bagenzi walala ne babanga endagamuntu kooti yagisigaza. Bino Dr. Nzeija abiisizza mu kiwandiiko ekitongole kyaweereza eri kooti zonna oluvannyuma lw'okufuna okwemulugunya okuva eri abantu ab'enjawulo abeeyimirira abantu nti endagamuntu zaabwe ate oluusi kooti ezisigaza.
Enfunda eziwerako abantu ababeera beeyimirira bannaabwe okusobola okuteebwa akakalu ka kooti bazze nga beemulugunya ku nsonga y'okugibwangako endagamuntu zaabwe okuva mu kooti ez'enjawulo. Ensonga eno babadde nga bajanyiza eri akulira abalamuzi Dr. Flavian Nzeija era nga bagamba nti kino kibakosezza emirundi egisinga olw'ensonga nti endagamuntu kimu ku bibeera byetaagibwa okubeera nabyo mu buli kifo omuntu w'abeera ali.
Kati nga osanga abantu ku kooti tugogamba nti nze bampe kwa ID yange ngende mu banka nzijeyo sente bampereza sente ebweru bampe kwa ID enkole ki naye ng'omuntu essimu ki tebamufuna na musango.
Oluvannyuma lw'okusoomoozebwa kuno kati akulira abalamuzi Dr. Flavian Nzeija ng'ayita mu kiwandiiko alagidde kooti zonna okukomya okujja ku bantu endagamuntu zaabwe ababeera bazze okweyimirira abantu bannaabwe okusobola okuteebwako kakalu ka kooti.
Tukitegeera nti omuntu bw'aba azze okuyimirira omulala aba alina okubaawo ebyatuukiriza. National IDs zino ziba zeetaagisa mu bintu bingi ate abantu babadde bakosebwa okufuna obuweereza olw'okuba nti national IDs zaabwe zibadde zisigala mu kooti ate luusi emisango girwawo okuggwa.
Nzeija mu kiwandiiko agamba abeeyimirira abantu okusobola okuteebwa kakalu ka kooti tebateekeddwa kuyisibwa ng'abazza omusango wabula ekibakwatako kwe kulaba nga bakubiriza omuvunaanwa okudda mu kooti mu kiseera w'abeera yeetaagibwa.
Kooti naddala ez'omu bibuga zibadde ziteera okuba nga zisigaza national IDs za sureties.
Malema abiriza omu ku baatwala ensonga eno eri akulira abalamuzi agamba ensonga ya kooti naddala eza wansi okuwamba endagamuntu z'abantu ababeera beeyimiridde abantu abalala okuteebwa akakalu ka kooti ebadde efuuse kizibu eri bannayuganda mu kooti zino.
Okweyimirira abantu era bangi nali mbalabye ng'agamba okuba era nga bamubuuza okuba kwa national ID sijja kukola ki kumweyimirira kubanga national ID oba ogikola ki. Ekirala abakozi ba kooti nabo bagufudde mulyo buli ajja okugamba bampe kwa ID yange ng'amusaba 3 ng'amusaba 5 ng'amusaba 6 asobola okufuna ku ki bamaze ne bakiraba nti bwe mbanza okweyimirira omuntu sinze go bavunaana tewanosoka bakyosigaza ebiwandiiko byange ebiri origino nga national ID.
Jamson Kalemani omwogezi w'essege eddamuzi alambuula ebimu ku byetaago bya kooti eri omuntu singa abeera ayagala okweyimirira omulala mu kooti.
Ekisookerwawo oba olina okusooka okukakasa kooti w'osula ekyo kiyinza okukolebwa ng'owaddeyo ebbaluwa eva ku bakulembezeebo nga chairperson. Ekirala tukozesa national ID okuba nti naye eraga omuntu gy'ava gy'asula. Akyuziri bayinza okumugyako waliwo ebintu bye bamusaba okuleka mu kooti nga bw'aba alina passport egyo bagisigaza olw'okuba nti bagezaako okulaba nti tasobola kudduka n'afuluma eggwanga. Eyinza okugamba nti odipositinge sente mu kooti ezibeera security ekitegeeza nti omusango bwe guwedde bajja kuba nga bakuzeza sente zezo.
Nze Namammonde Deborah wano mu Kampala.
Oli ku mawulire ga UBC leero tuli ku UBC TV Nile Avenue mu Kampala we tusinziira okutuusaako butereeva amawulire gaffe. Osobola okutusanga ku kibanja kya Facebook oba YouTube. Genda ku bibanja ebyo teekemu UBC leero ogenda kuba otootabuliro. Tugenda kubatuumula mu katono tukomewo n'amalala mangi. Tova ku UBC.
As the financial year 2020-2021 draws to an end, URA has put measures in place to facilitate taxpayers to file their returns and pay taxes within the set deadline. All our offices across the country and the URA Contact Center shall remain open to provide extra support to our esteemed taxpayers. Additionally, we have extended our contact center service hours from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. Monday to Friday and from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Saturdays and public holidays. In light of the COVID-19 risks, we encourage taxpayers to reach us through our improved contact center and other online platforms instead of making physical visits to our offices. For online support, please reach us through our toll-free lines 0800 117 000 or 0800 217 000. Email services@ura.go.ug. Website ura.go.ug. Social media Facebook URA page, Twitter @URA Uganda. URA Customs Help Tool help.ura.go.ug/login. URA appreciates all taxpayers who have duly fulfilled their obligations. Stay safe and let us all observe the standard operating procedures to prevent further spread of the COVID-19 virus. Stay safe as we develop Uganda together.
Uganda Revenue Authority, developing Uganda together.
Airtel Uganda has the best and most affordable rates when it comes to withdrawing and sending money. Withdraw money for as low as 330 shillings up to a maximum of 12,500 shillings. Sending money is just as affordable as ever. Absolutely unbeatable. Use Airtel Money on the most affordable network with the largest network of Airtel Money branches in Uganda. Dial *185# to get started. Airtel Money. Simple, secure, borderless.
In efforts to improve quality assurance and Uganda's competitiveness as a tourist destination, Uganda Tourism Board is set to undertake a nationwide grading and classification exercise of hotel and accommodation facilities. As a member of the East African community, Uganda subscribes to the East African Grading and Classification Criteria, a system denoted by stars ranging from 1 to 5. The grading and classification exercise will be crowned by the awarding of star ratings to facilities found compliant to the EAC minimum standards. This is therefore a call to all accommodation and facility owners and managers to register and get licensed by UTB as a requirement and get ready for participation. For more information, visit www.utb.go.ug or email qualityassurance@utb.go.ug for details. Uganda Tourism Board, promoting tourism together.
Therefore, understanding this model.
Excuse me, lady. Who do you think you are? A queen?
Hey, haven't you heard? Get Airtel Chillax bundles and browse like a queen.
Get Airtel Chillax bundles that do not expire and browse like a queen or king. Dial *175# or use My Airtel app.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
Nkwaniriza nnyo mu kitundu kyaffe ekyokubiri ne kulisayo mu kitundu kyaffe ekisoose. Oli ku mawulire aga UBC leero, tuli ku UBC TV. Nga tuli wakati mu lutalo olw'okulwanyisa ekirwadde kya COVID-19, tukuleetedde omwami Frederick Bwire ng'ono ayoza ngoye z'abalwadde awamu n'abasawo abajjanjaba ekirwadde kya COVID-19 mu kifo ekyateekebwawo okujjanjabirwamu abalwadde ba COVID-19 kiri mu disitulikiti y'e Hoima. Bwire agamba nti engoye z'abalwadde ba COVID, engatto n'ebyambalo by'abasawo bye bakozesa abyoza na mikono gye, ekintu ekiteeka obulamu bwe mu katyabaga, kati n'asaba wakiri gavumenti emufunireyo ebyuma ebyoza awamu n'okugolola. mutsonyiweko tugenda kuba tukutuusako emboozi eyo ate katugende ku kusaanyizibwawo kw'obutonde bw'ensi okweyongedde ennyo mu kkuumiro ly'ebisolo eriyitibwa East Madi Wildlife Reserve olw'abali mu mulimu ogw'okwokya amanda okwenyigira mu kusaanyaawo ebibira mu ngeri emenya amateeka. Okunoonyereza kulaga nti abookya amanda mu kitundu kino kati bamazeewo emyezi egisobera ddala mu 3 n'okusinga nga bava mu bitundu bya Buganda ne bajja ne basimba amakanda mu kitundu kino. Katubirabe.
Okwokya amanda kimu ku bintu ebikosa obutonde bw'ensi naddala nga abagookya basooka kwenyigira mu kusaanyaawo bibira mwe bajja emiti gye bookya. Kigambibwa nti bano batema emiti awatali kusosola bukulu bwagyo oba ebika era nga mu miti gye basaanyaawo mulimu emivule, mahogani, emisizi n'emirala. Ekizibu kino kikosezza nnyo ekibira ekisangibwa ku ttaka ly'ekkuumiro ly'ebisolo erimanyiddwa nga East Madi Wildlife Reserve nga lisangibwa mu disitulikiti y'e Adjumani. Ssentebe w'eggombolola ya Itikwa omusangibwa ekibira kino Jesus Iringa agamba nti emisizi gisaanyizibbwawo mingi nga mu kiseera kino yiika z'ekibira ezisoba mu 10 zimaze okukosebwa. Bw'atyo n'asaba ebitongole bikwatibwako okuli NFA, UWA n'ebirala okusitukiramu.
And some landlords are violent. Yes, leaders, they don't respect also. That is the challenge. Because now somebody has received money from somebody, it is a hard also. They may think that now you want to stop them from the activities.
Byron Oguzu nga yakulira ekitongole kya NFM District Adjumani n'ekitundu kya Moyo okutwaliza wamu anenyeza abeesenza ku ttaka ly'ekibira okubeera abasaale mu kutumbula omulimu gw'okwokya amanda. Ben Anyama, ssentebe wa District y'e Adjumani, alumbye abamu ku bakulembeze ba district n'abatwala ebyokwerinda olw'okubeera emabega w'ebikolwa by'okwokya amanda. Ate ye Taban Data Peter nga ye RDC we Adjumani n'anenya abakulembeze abagabira abatambuza amanda ebipapula ebibakkiriza okutambula. Ye amyuka kamisona wa poliisi mu bitundu bye Adjumani Simon Peter Okosh yennyamidde olw'ebikolwa by'okulinnyirira obutonde n'asuubiza nga bw'agenda okukwatagana n'ebitongole okuli NFA ssaako ne UWA okumalawo ekizibu kino. Kigambibwa nti loole ezisoba mu 10 ze zeetikka amanda okuva mu kitundu kino nga boolekera ebibuga buli wiiki awatali abakuba ku mukono, ekintu ekitadde ebibira mu kaseera akazibu.
Ate waliwo n'omuntu afiiridde mu kabenje akagudde ku luguudo olw'Ekaabwo Ishaka oluvannyuma lwa pikipiki namba UDJ 25 Nyavi okuyingirira loole UAV 575 cha ebadde esimbiddwa ku mabbali g'oluguudo. Afudde ye Katende Mugisha ono abadde atemera mu gy'obukulu 33 ng'abadde mutuuze mu disitulikiti y'e Kanungo. Wafiiridde abadde ayolekera Bushenyi abadde atwalira abalunzi obukoko oluvannyuma lw'okuba nga abalunzi mu kiseera kino tebakyasobola kutambula olw'omuggalo ogwalangirirwa. Okusinziira ku beerabiddeko n'agabi bategeezezza nti Katende abadde adduka endiima era nga mu kugezaako okuyisa emmotoka okukakana nga ayingiridde loole ebadde esimbye ku mabbali.
One ekizazi ky'emmotoka ibiri ziri kushuuma, emu epakingire sayidi eriya endiizo egyo overtakinga. Ogongo w'enkoko nawe yazikuratire naza kugeraho asanga atakiine kyasibe kugeraho atayikugeraho yananda kuzitema rwawe ufutaho muri iryo gihe epakinga akagiteraho akitera hagati yakora
Itamugisha Katende yanaza nagenda mu byaro nagenda naguzo enkoko tuguze kwezi kumwe yantuza purayinga ba farmers abatakubatsa kuzo kwezi kumwe so buli muntu yantuguza tuguzo mutwaro kanana bati hati yanaza yanyine picho yapakire enkoko bamutumerera
accident yabaho kandi okugira bakireba accident ejo yabahabwe bugambi aho ko omuzo yayekorire yabayine piki ayekorireho enkoko katandara kuko kari enkoko yari na overtaking isata ntipa nane ndizere kuruga nkai enyuma unfortunately ajikonaho kiyakora kiyagaruka mu yabo so kwenda ku uvuga kurungi
wanavuga tuki
kitalo nnyo kitalo ddala ekyo yafiiridde mu kabenje. Mawulire ga UBC leero tuli ku UBC TV naye obadde okimanyi nti abantu abasinga okuba n'ebintu ebitono bye bakumanyiiko ate be babeera abasinga okuba n'ebingi bye bakwogerako. Bwegate begatambudde ng'ogakutuusaako nze Amina Nabuule Kajimu ku lw'ekitongole kya mawulire kyonna okutwalira awamu. Nsinzire wano okwagaliza ekiro ekirungi beera bulungi weeraba tova ku UBC TV.
This is the new sound of winning cash every 3 minutes with Lucky 3. Here's your chance to win up to 60 million in our weekly jackpot. You no longer have to match 3 numbers in the exact order to win. Just match any 3 numbers. Yes, new ways for you to win big. Dial *185*88# select Lucky 3 and play to win up to 12,500,000 every 3 minutes. Every Saturday at 7:30 p.m. to follow the cash action. With Lucky 3 Chisawoka. Lucky 3 is brought to you by Mojabet. Mojabet is licensed and regulated by the National Lotteries and Gaming Regulatory Board of Uganda. Not for persons under the age of 18. Gaming is addictive and can be psychologically harmful. Terms and conditions apply.
Don't be like Ingabalala, don't be like Ingabalala, don't be like Kabalala Bebankuba, don't be like Ingabalala, don't be like Ingabalala Bampita, don't be like Kolumala Nebankuba, don't be like them. Dodo, I give you my love, Dodo, I give you my heart, Dodo, Lunakuze rolling nega na mazimo libonzisa.
Welcome to yet another beautiful Saturday right here on TV West, Bukene TV, UBC, Star TV, Magic One HD, and this is the Jackpot Show right here on, of course, all your channels. My name is Derek Ainedasha, and we're about to make you a millionaire. For those of you that have been wondering what is happening, why is it taking so long? Well, we're here, and we are definitely going to be getting into those huge amounts of millions of shillings. I'm talking about 40 million Ugandan shillings. As to now, jackpot to TV West, Kampa Miango Ayakuma, Kampa Mingo Rije, Kand Nakwachira, her program into a Lucky 3, Nana Murunji and Taylor.
But I forgot to Derek. When I went by the Gakumisi,
go home. You leave home, go to work.
Sasa tuleka kabanga zako sente ziwandagada kuzanya n'oluvanyuma tolabira pin code yo chama kunyinjala kaka santino inako mobile money ku MTN oba Airtel atengo weze myaka 18 nokuda wagulu obenanga we wangulira munanga bana bawangula last time people keep winning
so wangula cheno kwa chintu changu nnyo ko WhatsApp go to your friend ugambe mwana boy nyama milioni zange bilioni zange 10 nazi wangu dokuba mu Lucky 3 chintu bagala nkole chintu kitono bagala nkwateka video kange nga neyo gira
ngoli adawali ngakwata
yes nze antayira chirwa manje ko omula milioni za 12
watu wakusente ngini chingezo tugane soka tuwahane kata wetu wangula watu sikola muchi
ne kati tona manya tosobola zikola mtobola tosobola wangula antayira
tuina bijja kwa mkono kafe yakatwenga ko otuukidde abantu abalungi jjukira nti n'okutulaba oteekako buteesi UBC TV n'oteekako Star TV n'oteekako Magic 1 HD n'oteekako Bulkhead TV 1 n'oteekako TV West wonna munange osobola okuba nga otuweererako
waliwo yandabye no weekend nga buli lwakyusa ndaba
nogamba nogakyo kigenda maaso
sente zino nyingi nnyo naye mpaka namugambe
it's possible naganala nga onaona tusazeeko munetubera tusazeeko osobola okuba nga owangula akasente kati kwata esimu yo essaawa eno tugenda kubanga tugaba sente miliyoni 4 kwata esimu yo yiga star
dial star 1
8 5
star
8 8
hash
tekamu namba z'omukisa
put your lucky 3 numbers
tekamu sente ziwandiagadde okuzanya
put any amount of 1,050,000
okuva ku nusu lukumi mpaka ku mitwalo 5 tekamu pin code
put your pin code
awogenda wanga baze okuzanya deriki tusooka tubalagenda wangula bannanga katubalaga ono nga wanga asiima lucky 3 kisoboka
it is possible
nenze Aisha Batamuliza Kabingo Isinjiro district nensanyuse nnyo kuba sente nazifunye miliyoni 2 naye banange kisoboka kubanga nalabye nga kisobokera ddala nasoose nasooka n'ensindika ogwasooka nendowooza nti balimba nti boba bafere oba biyinza okunkola obi nengezaako nenziramu nensindika nagenza okulanga ekintu kisoboka era nagenza okulanga meseji yange baginsindikira ku ssimu miliyoni 2 ndi bulungi nasanyuse era ngenda kwongera mu bizinesi yange ey'okusuubula ebijanjaalo kuba ndi mukazi mulimi banaye kisoboka buli omu yena nanyiga natandika n'okunyiga nabiraba ku TV nentandika nenyiga star 185 star 888 nendyoka nenyiga hashi nagenda okulanga bansindikira message nga bangamba nga bansindikira nga mberezamu nagenza okulaba mbadde nakakola k'emyezi 3 ngenza okulanga ebintu bikisoboka era byaddala si byakulimba si byakinaye nasanyuse banange nasanyuse mwebale nnyo mwebalire ddala ngenda okukikolera ddala nange ngenda kubeerezaamu nga nange mbuulira ne ku bantu abalala nti banange abantu si bafere abantu batuufu banange neyanziza era ngenda kwongera mu bintu byange banange mukama abawa omukisa neyanziza neyanzeege.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, another winner walking out with millions of cash. Now you, who's watching, what is stopping you from playing? What is stopping you from getting yourself into the millionaires world? It's very simple. We begin with as low as 1,000 Ugandan shillings to play this game to as much as 50,000 Ugandan shillings. So you have very many zeros to include or to exclude as you're doing your betting. It's very simple. Get over to your phone, dial star 185 star 88 hash, put your lucky 3 numbers, leave a space, any amount from 1,000 to 50,000 Ugandan shillings. And above that, do not forget the PIN number for your Airtel as well as MTN, because these are the communication companies that we are working with.
Ticket number tumaze kubanga tujifuna eri OKC CLS nya ticket number oba 4 munange nga bojiraba nga nawo tulako ka ticket koke wakazanya keko kenyine esimu kakasa ntino bana esimu eberako. If your phone is not on, then there is no way you can actually be a winner.
But how can your phone be off on Saturday at 7:30
when you're not Lucky 3? Actually, your phone should be on every single day.
Every single
day, if you are a Lucky 3 player, every single day, every second, make sure your phone is fully charged.
That's true, man. Because now we make draws after every 3 minutes. So please, but is he happy? But he what?
Basi kwa kwate simu nawe.
Basi wasawa mchitunda babanja bate bakuba. Naba banja bakuba sawa mchitunda. Saturday.
Nechiro. Nakumwenda kubira. Owa sente zange.
Sinazifuna.
Chofana abantu mwabe wala mwe wenye. When you have the money yourself, but when it's payback time, you guys can be a problem. Mugazako, we are trying this number for the last time.
That's very true.
We are giving you the last shot.
One
last time. Only one last chance for this guy.
either
Wabata kutenga otugenda walala ngechuma chituwate yomu.
Alabika kuba mukyala. Mwaba kyali sawa bafumba kachayi.
Mwami siba sente.
Tusibe?
Waba mwami ompameka.
Kizibu kisoyina mu lockdown eno. Nze solving.
Derek ajimanyi tero kulya sente. Kati agabyo.
Sichakwesigawo. Olimu olulogologo. Lero bikatagenda kukwata tusibe. Anakwata.
Wabulo batawo tusibe waawo. Anaye alabika. Anakwata takwate. Tulabe sawa no ku UBC ku Star TV ne Magic 1 HD. Mutende kubananga twabuza omuntu ono anakwata oba takwate. Wabata kutenga tugenda okukyuma nga tetulaba omwanguzi omulala anavawa. Ali mu kuzannya essaawa eno ekyokola kyakabi nnyo. Nyiga star M85 star 88 hashtag mu namba z'omusasatu kabanga zako sente ziwandiyagadde okuzannyawo nyige okay nga ne pin code yo ogitaddemu.
Wookomeddeawo okwogera n'essimu naye ebivuddeko egambye
otugudde dro kuba mbagamba nti najja kukwata olaba wooli olukumi lwange
anaasiba olukumi
nze nzaba
tetusiba lukumi wano kulakisiri kunveyo tudde wano ku kazanyo kafe ku masimu
ekyuma kigenda maaso n'okuba nga kikyanga era nga tiketi namba tumaze okuba nga tugifuna eri ZFC XLS nya ye tiketi namba katulabe omwana ono anakwata takola ebya bosiko
webazibwawo nayinza okukwata ono
eyo yajja kukwata
njala otumulako bonna abantu banga be Masaka awo Masaka lukayawo ntera okuyingira lukaya
bagira emicomawo
babeerawo n'obunyama bwebuzo buli kimu kibeerawo okuyita simanyi bakati bakyabeerawo
webali babeerawowebali babeerawo ati we batunda ebyokulya
konako katale oba
katale era katale
sawo basulawo wamuseveni agamba bakatale basulewo
nga bali eyo ebimu tubive.
Hello.
Yes, hello.
Yes, how are you?
Fine, how are you?
I'm very blessed to be talking to a lady right now.
Of course.
My name is Derek Aine Dash. I'm calling you from Lucky 3.
So, wallahi.
Wallahi billahi tallahi okulyeka fulindi.
Derek.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
But do you know the person you're talking to? Of
course I know you.
All right, tell me, what's your beautiful name?
I'm called Nakanwaji Ramla.
I beg your pardon?
Nakanwaji
Ramla.
Nakanwaji Rona.
Ramla.
Yeah. All right, Nakanwaji, where are you at right now?
I'm in the fort.
You're where? In fort?
Sorry?
Where did you say you are?
I'm in Masaja.
Masaja?
Yeah.
All right, Nakanwaji. Are you waiting for the Prime Minister's money or you are okay?
Nabanja.
Yeah.
Is that Nabanja?